All right, episode 215. Today we're going to talk about the Real Estate Accelerator and how to go from a newbie to a millionaire agent in just 12 months. We got 5 steps for you on that one. We're going to get started right now.
Only 5?
Team with EXP, I don't know who it is, called me today for a recruiting call, and the AI was pretty good, dude.
Was it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I didn't know until about a minute into the call.
I think it would be fun.
Way better than what we've been doing.
That would be fun to just like somehow take a control group of leads and then like another group of leads and like find like 2 agents to hit the leads really hard in the one group, and then have AI do every single bit. And obviously there's like humans in like their time frame in there, so it would be perfect. But just see who could convert quicker and at a higher level.
I
with the same like leads coming from the same source.
They're pretty good because the resilience factor is infinite.
Right?
No, that's what started this. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, well, look, episode 215, we're going to be breaking down the 5 steps, this Real Estate Accelerator, how to go from a newbie agent, even if you're not new, you're not making $1 million, maybe you're not selling a lot. 49% of all agents last year sold 0 or 1 house, so you're definitely not making $1 million bucks. So how to go from not making any money to millionaire agent in just 12 months. But look, before we get started, we got to thank our sponsors, and you got to leave us some 5-star reviews. Like Bennett. Bennett left a 5-star review recently. He's like, look, I recently stumbled upon the only real estate podcast worth listening to, and let me tell you, it lives up to its name. The star of the show, Nick Good, that's me, by the way, is undoubtedly the best realtor in Dallas. And this podcast is a testament to his expertise. Nick's insights are not only informative, but delivered with a charisma that keeps you hooked. From market trends to savvy negotiation tips, each episode is a goldmine to anyone navigating the real estate landscape. The blend of professionalism and relatability makes Nick stand out in the crowded real estate podcast arena.
I need to know who is responsible for these shenanigans.
Whose witness protection name is Bennett?
Yes,
Thank you so much, Bennett, for that 5-star review, and I agree with you, sir.
What was the one that Jesse got today? Like Nick, why is Taylor Lautner's dad hosting this podcast?
It said, you can't tell me this isn't Taylor Lautner's dad.
That's twice now.
That is twice.
Yeah. So, all right. And look, thank you, Bennett, for leaving that. I agree with you so much. And go leave us some more 5-star reviews of how I am the star of this show.
Everybody, go leave a review.
You can do that on Spotify. You can do that on Apple Podcasts. And then, look, if you just want to leave it on our Facebook stage. I didn't write that, but I was accused that I had my VAs do it. And that's definitely smart. From now on, I'll probably do that. But you know who's not hiring Fiverr or VAs just to make up fake reviews? Because that wasn't one, by the way, but our amazing sponsors like Mortgage Freaking Mike. Yep, Mortgage Mike, giving you that Mortgage Mike stamp of approval. If you're needing to get a home loan, if you're needing to send your clients there, he's got the best rates in town over in Texas and in Oklahoma. mmgloans.com. It's there at the bottom, mmgloans.com.
3 buyers sent to him in the past 7 days. One already UC that is under contract, folks.
Wow. UC.
Yes, sir.
He said he wasn't going to do a Super Bowl party, which is like really disappointing.
He's busy right now.
He spent all that money on that massive outdoor entertainment center. He's not doing a Super Bowl party.
Maybe he will now that you called him out.
Maybe I'm just not invited.
Yeah. Oh, you weren't invited to that? I'll send you pics. Right. And you know who else will send you pics? Theron. If you ask Theron to send you a pic right now, he'll do it.
Pack pics
all day. Theron Smith, Armadillo Home Warranty, giving you that hard shell protection. Go to armadillo.1/tour, TORE. And then Dana Wynn, she won't send you any pics, even if you ask it.
She
Dana
won't
Wynn.
receive him either.
Homeward DFW, the best property management in Dallas-Fort Worth, homeward.dfw.com. So thank you to our sponsors, and thank you, Bennett, for that 5-star review. And leave us some more. But we got to get to the Real Estate Accelerator guide here, from going from not making any money, not selling any houses, to how to make that coveted $1 million mark. Screw the $100,000.
It's not even cool anymore.
Yep, 7 figures.
Blow right past it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Become internet sensation.
yep,
Boom.
exactly.
All right, let's dive in, boys. What's
Yeah.
step number 1 out of 5?
Well, step number 1 is when we just were kicking this around and coming up with these 5 steps, we were racking our brains, and we said, look, you got to master the fundamentals, right? Step number 1. And obviously, if you're a newbie, you got to obtain the proper licensing, Brian.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Right. So we threw that. We definitely said, all right,
Check
once
that box.
once you have the proper licensing, what's the next part? Is the education and training, which obviously you come to this show for entertainment value and education and training and raw, relatable real estate content. And it's where you invest time and really get that comprehensive real estate education and training programs. And what I'm seeing here, and this is something we talked about in our sales meeting earlier this week, is that, again, to bring it up, 49% of all realtors last year sold 0-1 house.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And why do you think that is?
A lot of reasons, I would say.
Brian's definitely stumped.
Mm-hmm.
You usually have full of answers.
I don't want to get long-winded about effort.
What?
Okay. Yeah, I know. It's rare for me.
What?
Yeah.
What version of Brian are
Let
we
me-
talking to
let me
today?
put it
It's because
this
he's
way.
got the Ariat hat on.
Let me put it to you.
He
this
got his
way.
first pair of cowboy boots
I did.
today.
Now I'm like totally into it. I got
Yeah.
a pickup truck about the other day.
Yeah.
Totally
You
into it.
did.
Pretty
You've
soon,
owned a truck and cowboy
yeah,
boots.
pretty
That's
soon,
wild.
this is his first pair of cowboy boots. Pretty
That's
soon
the
he's
first
going
one,
straight
yeah.
vest, no undershirt.
Sure.
Brian's
Yes.
going to cowboy boots. I'm going to like what do they call shoes?
Granola.
What do they call like a
Those-
podiatrist? But like what do they call? They're not prosthetics. What do you call
oh,
shoes that are for old people?
I know exactly. They're not They're not. What are they
I
called?
think they're prosthetics.
No, they're not prosthetics, dude. It's a
No,
certain kind of shoe for do old people padded shoe.
Yeah, but while
Nah,
we're
somebody
yeah.
hit us up with the answer.
yeah, while we're looking for old people padded shoes, what it is that, how I look at, they never pour, like, they get in this business and they're actually business owners, but they're not going through and really diving deep and really
Orthopedics.
There it
You guys
is.
were right.
Drive me crazy.
And really embodying this as a career, right? It's kind of like if we got these cameras in here, and let's say they weren't focusing, and we just toss the instructions aside, and we're like, you know what, fuck it, these cameras don't work. They're not focusing on us. They don't obviously don't work. They're broken. And we try to return them, and the guy's like, well, did you read the instructions? I was like, nah, obviously it's not working. It's not working for me. And then you go through the damn instruction manual. There's someone else who has the same camera system who actually has learned the ins and out of how that camera system works and how to focus on it and what it can do. And then they're able to master the Tor Studios podcast, torstudios.com. If you want to create great video content and podcasting just like this, get with Jesse. But the thing that I'm seeing is they're not coming in and learning how to actually run this business and to lead generate properly.
I think one of the things that people are underestimating when it just comes to education and training are those, like, one of the things that has stayed true for the past decade that I've been in this industry is that, like, you hear something that doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but it changes everything, right? Like, I don't know how to explain that. And I think you have to dive into this a little bit, but where you hear those things are when you're networking with other people, when you're going to classes, right? Like, I've learned more like little one-off stuff later in my career from sitting down and talking to other agents. Education and training just isn't like whatever your title company's putting on, by the way, right? Like, going out with people who have businesses that you want to replicate, who are willing to have lunch with you, is education and training. And we've said this forever. Early in your career, you have an abundance of time and a lack of knowledge. Why not use that abundance of time to flip that as quickly as possible? Become somebody who's super knowledgeable. So when you walk into living rooms and you have conversations on the phone, all the other things that are terrifying in real estate, you're that much more competent and confident because you've already had these conversations with people who might be a little bit above you.
And I will say, like, I was playing pickleball last night with the dads group that I'm a part of. And I was talking to a buddy of mine who is the number one salesperson in his company. And he was sharing how he had to do some role playing. He's like, man, I hate role playing.
Yep.
He's like, but the guy that was up there is so good at it. Like, even him, the number one sales guy in the company, learned he's so good at asking open-ended questions and getting you to open up and make it relatable. And he's like, I just took so much away from that. But he's like, I hate role playing.
Yeah.
And the thing about this in the education and training, Ben Kinney says it best, is like, you need to go learn your presentation. You need to learn the scripting. There's a reason why it's there. It's the formula. And if you go and do that, but then you don't practice it enough, if you're obviously not meeting enough people to know what to say, when to say it, and how to say it, it means you need to get more at bats.
Sure. 100%. And on the, to add on to that, maybe it's not previewing houses anymore. Data is maybe more accessible, but it used to be previewing houses to get familiar with your market, right? There's probably better ways now, and maybe you should go back to that. But Kelderman does a great job of this, right? Like, one of the reasons that we're able to have such great conversations is because we know what we're talking about, right? Knowing your market and having the expertise to say, I know what buyers expect, sellers expect. I know how the market moves. I know how lenders work. I know the products. I know everything that goes into doing a deal and how to advise you best. That's going to empower your conversations. Otherwise, you can script all you want, but you're kind of just banging your head against the wall, right? A lot of what realtors don't do in the beginning is actually do the thing where they become experts, right?
Yep.
We had a call this morning and we had everybody just kind of rattle off their USP, their unique selling proposition. And a lot of it is around like, expert service at a, whatever. It's like that tagline, but it's like, okay, but in what way, right? Like, what are you doing on a day in and day out basis to actually be more intellectually valuable than the next economic advisor that I could assign with? And so I don't know exactly what that cadence is in 2024, but I promise you there's a lot of data out there, and you need to be a studier and a learner and a student of the market.
Well, and that's part of step one, right? Mastering the fundamentals is not just education and training, but it's market research. And I want to go back to remind me real quick before we leave to step two, the USP part, because I want to bring that up. But market research, conduct thorough market research to understand local housing trends, right? So property values, neighborhood demographics, stay updated on the industry news and changes that may impact the market. And again, we talked about this week when we have Mortgage Mike on and talk with our agents and just here in general. There's times what Mortgage Mike likes to share what's going on with the Consumer Pricing Index report. He gets really nerdy.
Yeah.
Right. And I was telling our agents, I said, look, I know what happens. Mortgage Mike comes in, he starts talking all this, you zone out, you look at other things to do. You're scrolling there because we do it on virtually. You're probably scrolling there on TikTok, Instagram, or whatever. And I said, but the reason why we're doing this is because, again, 49% of all agents last year sold 0-1 house. Yeah. They're also talking to potential customers out there. And so you do think that those agents, those 49%, or even the majority, because they're selling still less than 8 houses a year, are doing any type of deep education on what's going on with just interest rates? Or do you think they're just regurgitating what's going on in the news by interest rates are obviously high, not the best time to buy because it's so high and prices are high and it's not great and everything else. And so, but if you want to buy, like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Right. They're not just doing the research.
Imagine if your attorney passed the bar exam and they just like stopped.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
That actually is really
good. I really like that. But as a USP, what do you think about this? Matt Kelderman, the sourdough realtor.
We've actually
I will tell you, there's definitely a brand association already developing. Because I've heard more about Kelderman and the sourdough in the last 2 weeks from other people that aren't even at this table. People are watching your shit.
Yes. When you buy and sell a house with Matt Kelderman, the sourdough realtor, he will bring you a fresh loaf of piping hot sourdough bread.
They will not cut too early and make it gummy.
I saw that too.
Yes. Right. I think honestly, that's your USP. Why should you go with me? Because who else is bringing you no preservatives, fresh, hot piping sourdough bread?
Keeps on giving.
And I'll teach you how to do it I'll even give you a little piece of my starter.
Here is the beautiful thing about this, which, by the way, our boy Maddie's going to be in town here pretty soon, like coming up for Wayne Salmon's things. He's going to bring me some 150-year-old starter from his great-great-grandmother. Right? Yeah. So get some old bacteria. But one of the coolest things about, like, I think this stupid thing is this is just another iteration of Matt just trying to like figure his own life out, by the way, right? like there's no part of this that and I think that's the best part of stuff. And I've tripped and fallen into like just having fun with this. One of the this is actually the whole problem. I was fine 2 weeks ago until I mentioned preserving food and canning food. And then all of a sudden Nick was like, you know who does that? Heather. And then I went to Heather's office and she gave me starter and added me to this group. And now it's nuts, dude. Every my house is getting fatter.
Yeah.
I was talking to Nick today and I was super annoyed about just like the fact that we have access to a lot of content, but my stuff does nothing. There's no call to action on it. I'm just putting it out there. Is it vanity? Is it supposed to do something? I'm not even sure what I do with my content, right? And we sat there for like 30 minutes and we're not even talking about this USP, right? This unique selling proposition. But all of a sudden we started talking about it just like we did here organically. And Brian said what he said. And he's like, honestly, this ridiculous crap you're doing with the sourdough recently is the perfect idea. And I said, Victoria said the same thing. She said I should take muffins to closing. And I say all that to say, sometimes the stuff that you should be doing is obvious to the people who are not in your industry. Don't always look to the people who do what you do for what you should do next. Maybe look to the person who is consuming your product to potentially be like, oh, this is a good idea. People think this is cool. I should focus on this a little bit more, right? Everybody we know who's killing it at social media is just being themselves. That's all they're doing.
For sure. Yeah. That's the ones that are killing at social media that are legitimate. Right?
They're legitimate.
Right.
Sure.
That, you know, like again, Chauncey Pham, who was on our show, you know, last week talking about diversity in real estate, like and you know, if you get the pleasure of ever meeting Chauncey and get to know her really well, and then if you watch her content first and then meet her in person, there's no difference.
Yeah.
Right. What you see is what you get. And you don't, you know, there's some, you know, I was talking to a business partner of mine where it's like, you know, you never want to meet your idols because it's just going to let you down. Always a letdown. But that's not what Chauncey, like,
not at all.
You know, and that's hopefully how you get to be. But, you know, and Beth Silverman, you know, who's been friend of the show, been on the show, one of the stars of the show, who has mastered her craft and investments and gone really far down that niche of pad splits, the you know, per room rentals, that, like she said, you should be previewing 5 houses a week and posting that on social media. It's correct. I mean, you know, something in step 2 is build your network.
Yeah.
Right. Your database, your network, and your social media. People take that as almost, even though it's a brief snippet of what's going on, they almost take that as that's what you're doing every day, 24/7.
I received a buyer. You want to talk about building your network and how this matters? I know Beth through our network. She became on the podcast. I had a lead today who was interested in purchasing a ready-to-go, completely built-out pad split. And 2 hours ago, as we're sitting at lunch, I text Beth about like this opportunity, and she texts me this other investor who has one for sale that might work for this guy that's in another area. That deal might solely get done because I know you and you know her, and she was on this show, and I was able to reach out to her directly about this opportunity. She sent me another one. Real estate agents, and I've been one of them, vastly underestimated, just asking other smart agents for help around things they know better than you.
That leads to building your network is one of the things we all came up with as we were racking our brains on this, of how do we become millionaire agents, is networking events. And, you know, the funny part is we talk about this as you're brand new or you're not having a lot of business, is that once you start getting business, what do we end up doing? We kind of stop going to networking events.
This is actually harder to do when you are busy.
It is, but at the same time, we're like, man, I don't really want to go talk to more agents. I don't want to really
feel like work.
Yeah,
exactly. But networking events, attend, you know, and we put in here, so attend real estate networking events or industry conferences. In the conferences, you know, a lot of times, look, they're expensive. But I will tell you that my referral partners and some of my best relationships and business mentors have come from the conferences, where it's not really what's being taught at the conference itself. It's really the relationships that developed at the bar, the afterwards, or going to dinner, and then going, you know, and saying, hey, we're going to this meetup, whatever it is.
I haven't went to a single class at one of those things in probably 4 years. They are social events at this point. I don't need to hear anybody else's open house plan, honestly. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
It's probably available on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. and then go to community gatherings to meet potential clients and industry professionals. You know, that's a great one. What I would say as well that we forgot to add in here is, like, you should start your own small business networking event to help small business owners grow, because guess what? You are now.
I don't know if he does this anymore, but Rosen killed it with this when he first went to Port St. Lucie. He started that networking event with, like, I don't know who all was in it, but it was other referral based businesses. And he actually had, rules around being a part of that event. You had to send referrals to other people and participate and things like that.
Yeah.
But that was, I'm sure he would say that was probably great for his business.
Yeah, that was, what was and it's still around. What is those network?
Meetup?
Master Networks.
Master, there's one of them, but what's the original BNI business networking? Is it BNI?
I think it's BNI.
Yeah.
Networking.
No clue.
I used to go to a BNI when I first got started. It was in Allen, and I just didn't have the confidence in it. I felt it was cheesy.
Yeah.
I did say if you start one of those and you do make it where you're sending, it's BNI. Business Network International. So it's business networking. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to send referrals to each other. Like you're really supposed to give at-bats to your it's one person from each industry in and you pay a little fee. You get to stand up and perfect your elevator pitch. And then you share like how many referrals and how much money this group has earned through referrals. But then when I really dug deep in it, I was like, "Ooh, I know this person. They're actually not sending it to the mortgage person. They're sending
That's the know your heroes part. You start realizing they suck.
Yeah, but what I would do is change it a little bit and say, like, I'm not necessarily looking for referrals right away. What I'm here is let's make this how do we build our businesses together, and that could naturally, organically lead to, hey, I'm going to send you people. I scratch your back, you scratch mine, but it's not necessarily 100%,
It's not always that. Like we're in a market where it's hard to send referrals out, right? Like I don't have a lot of people leaving DFW. There's definitely a lot more coming in. So your value proposition can also be, I will take care of this.
Yeah.
Make sure, even though you may not know me as a business owner, I will make sure that your person's taken care of, your reputation is protected. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that your commission check shows up and the person you referred to me is happy.
Yeah.
Right.
There's
a lot of that
opportunity. And within building your network is also to do that better is build your online presence stronger.
Yeah.
Right. And so really by establishing an online presence, by creating professional profiles on social media platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, as much as that pains me, TikTok is now, like Chauncey said, it's crushing.
They've just changed their formats where you can have that long. People are going back to horizontal long, why? Like horizontal, longer form content.
Yeah.
TikTok has got a YouTube vibe to it now, as far as the way stuff's set up. It's weird.
And you want to share valuable content, engage with your audience, and showcase your expertise. And so, like, there's this thing where friend of the show, Kyle Draper, used to always say, like, stop oversharing business stuff. And
oversharing is a key word.
Oversharing. And here's what I'll say. It's like the minute that I stopped, like I slowed that down is the minute that I noticed that I actually had a decrease in referrals.
Really?
Because, what am I, like, even Chauncey said this, he's like, you're just really more known as just this business person.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is what other than my kids and my wife and kids, like this is really what the life has revolved around. And this is what I like to share and talk about. This is my hobby.
Yeah.
Right. It's either that or bourbon. And there's only
it's so funny because he doesn't really drink that.
I don't, but I enjoy a really
what he
good,
does, he has a
really
good drink.
But you can't be sharing that at 8 a.m. in the morning because then people are going to judge you. Right?
Yeah.
They're going to say that you look like at 45, you look like a 28-year-old.
That is our moment. Wait till the end to give me an answer on that.
Yeah. But really just building that, like even Beth had shared, like preview 5 houses and share that in social media. Like again, it just shows that you're busy and active.
That is one of the things that as a new agent, I tell the agents that I mentor, and I've said this to new agents for years, God, start documenting the dumb shit you're doing early on. There are whole channels devoted to what real estate agents are essentially doing as a career, which are houses. If you start telling people your journey from the beginning, your confusion, don't record people's personal stuff, but the silly things you see, the silly things that you hear, like that's attractive. Not only is there, when you talk about that social media presence, there's a little drama there, there's a little intrigue, there's a little curiosity. I don't understand why new agents don't spend more time documenting that part of it, because it would be gold if they did.
Absolutely. And then this is something that Kelderman did at a really high level, is the referral partnerships. Yeah. Right. And so you want to form strategic partnerships here. And you do this through like real estate attorneys. And we kind of wrote down like mortgage brokers or home inspectors, but when we really look at it in general, it's hard to have, it's hard to really expect like your mortgage person or your home inspector to send you personal referrals. Like, because once, if their other real estate agent clients find out, guess what? They probably stop sending.
They might use you, right? Yeah. They might use you, but it's not going to be social media fodder. Every year he posts that Valentine's pic too. I want to acknowledge that. It's just that I told somebody the other day, I have a mentee who was telling me the other day that their focus was to go to like real estate, like title company events and stuff. I was like, locally, I was like, who are you going to talk to?
Yeah.
That's going to send you any business there? The title company, like, let's be honest, the title company is not the choke point for clients. Title company is sending you no one, right? They might be supplementing some of your events. The lender might send you people. That's only reciprocity after you've sent them some. The inspector, what? I mean, like, I don't know where he's going to.
And if he does, he's going to send it to his number one client.
I've just always thought that, like, I know an inspector who used an agent that we all know and then posted about it, which I thought was the dumbest thing in the world.
Yep.
I wasn't using that person, but I was also like, I knew who their person was. And I know I say that to say agents don't lose track of what you're trying to do by going to these events, because I don't want to make it seem like we just gave you permission to go to Newbie's on a Tuesday and hear about the monthly inventory with Yoder, right? Like, that's not happening.
When it's get outside
go to
the
an
box,
event that makes money for you.
Think outside the box a little bit here, right? So Ryan Stuman, which we had Ryan on episode 2, 3, 4, like really way back.
I actually looked it up 5 the other day.
Episode 5.
I had to actually send it to somebody the other day.
Ryan Stuman, Hardcore Closer, episode 5. Go way back and check it out. He shared this. I saw this other day, and he's getting, a lot of his stuff is really getting really valuable, free, valuable content out there. And he's like, look, when I was a mortgage loan officer, he's like, I would get hit up by insurance people all the time. And he's like, what insurance people are hitting up mortgage people, but you know who they're not hitting up, who needs insurance right away? He's like, car salesmen. Yeah. He's like, car salesmen are meeting with people. These people are legit buying cars that need to get insured.
Yeah.
And that's a great opportunity. And he's like, when I was selling cars, I never once got hit up by insurance guys.
It's a perfect channel, dude.
Yeah.
100%.
So think outside the box a little bit here, and with your referral partnerships and see, like, again, I know attorneys is a great source. There's a whole bunch that you could really go dive deep into. Your CPA, financial advisors.
We do the thing that's like really safe though.
What's the one that is what's safe and easy? Like, mortgage brokers, they're working with buyers, so they should send me a whole bunch of buyers.
Well, and they want to talk to you too. So there's no real rejection
so it feels
there.
Like we're working.
There's no real rejection there, right?
So
which is the thing.
I've not once have been the type like, my mortgage broker doesn't send me a deal. Like, no, guess what my mortgage guy needs to do? He needs to be a freaking badass mortgage Mike, make us look so darn good. The experience needs to be good on that side, because applying for a loan is like exposing all your parts.
Yep, like pulling teeth for sure.
Right? And it needs to be as pleasurable as possible, so that when they get to the closing table, that they're still happy. And happy enough that when you ask for that referral and that review, and that when you call them up in a month, they're still super happy and not reaming about maybe a missed close date, or they felt the rate was too high because they were taken advantage of.
Well, and as agents, like, stop trying to force feed your buddy who does loans too, by the way, right? Because at the end of the day, like, it's the same concept of like somebody just using their friend as a real estate agent.
Yes.
After 2008, the mortgage part of this business has more restrictions and more rules and takes the brunt of everything, as they should. Your mortgage person should be the smartest person in the transaction, honestly. There's so much of the screw up that can end up on their side of the plate.
100%.
And there's so many different ways to get deals done that just because they took you to lunch doesn't mean they should be your mortgage partner.
Yeah.
Honestly, I question why they have so much time for lunches.
Or coffee.
Get to work, bro.
Yeah. Step 3, right? So step 1, master the fundamentals. Step 2 is build that network, your database, and referral partner. Step 3 is implement an effective lead generation strategies, right?
I told Brian this was one of the things that when we did our live classes, this was one of this, like, when I read that, like, we were talking about this part and like read through it, I was like, this is everything that, like, we would just, this was class number 1. The most people would show up to it.
Yeah.
This is where agents think there's some kind of like amazing secret avenue. And there is. It just involves the same ideas that you've heard. We just talk about doing it differently.
Well,
right?
That's the thing is we always just laugh about this is where we get standing room only 70 people in a room, right? But we'd always joke about
Hey Brian, what leads are you closing? What's your magic lead source?
That's exactly. We always used to joke about it because they were there because they were thinking we were going to say something different.
That's why I had to interrupt.
Always let them down.
I had to interrupt because that is the number one thing. Like, And it doesn't matter whether you're selling $150 million in real estate or you're brand new. It's like, hey, what'd you close?
Yeah.
What was that lead source, by the way?
Nate signed 3 listings this month, and my first question to him was, "Hey, what were the sources on?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
What are you
wanted
doing?
to know, did I miss out on something, or is he
Yes.
doing something I can't do?
Hey, what?
Figure something
right?
else I
Hey,
didn't
what-
know.
He was like referral and 2 expires. It's like, shit, I can do those.
Hey, what?
I already
Yeah.
knew about those.
Yeah, like what pond you fishing in over there? The same fucking one you are.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
like,
dude.
but that's the thing is like, you want to start building effective ones. So like, again, expired listings and for sale boners, that's the low hanging fruit. Like if you were to say, hey, I need to get some business in the next 30 days.
Yeah.
That's probably going to give you business in the next 30 days versus your sphere,
Yeah.
more than likely, right? And so you want to target expired listings and
Well, you may
for
not
sale
have a
properties.
sphere also too. Like I think
Yeah.
the glory of, I think the really cool thing about on the seller side, expireds and FSBOs, and on the buy side, open houses, is you can do those day one.
Yes.
When we start talking about database,
new
we start
game
talking
every
about
day.
farming through mailing, like all of those things. You can throw out the excuse of, I don't have clients and I don't have money.
Yeah.
Expireds and FSBOs specifically because they're super free. Expireds, if you get creative, can really minimize the cost of that, but at the least it's $100 a month. Open houses takes a little bit of effort. By the way, if you're with a brokerage who doesn't have any houses for you to hold open, you move to a different brokerage,
Yep.
right? Like open houses should be really easy for you to figure out.
But I'm at that boutique brokerage.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah,
it's
it's
small, and I
exactly.
don't get lost in the number of agents.
Awesome,
Small
yeah.
is the new boutique.
Cool. Everybody knows you're making nothing. Fantastic,
yeah.
right? Like those are free lead sources that you can start day one.
Yeah.
Right.
And then of course you want to do the database, the sphere of influence, right? So leverage your personal and professional network to generate referrals, right? Your sphere of influence is like, that one's always tough because I was sharing when I got in at 24, when I went full time in this at 24. I said my limiting belief was that my friends who were in college still or just out of college who weren't making a lot of money weren't going to use me, right? Because obviously they weren't ready yet. And I never asked them for any business, or I didn't ask them for referrals. And I didn't ask about their maybe their parents because I was their broke kid's friend.
Yeah.
And I just built that up. And, I'm grateful today that I didn't go down that path because it taught me how to go proactively prospect with expireds and cancels and for sale by owners. But, it would have been a much easier process if I would have said, hey, Brian, like, look, I know, man, you just graduated, but you're working with other people. So obviously you're out there talking to others and you got coworkers. If they're thinking about buying or selling, do you think that you could toss my name that way?
Well, and the thing is, we established that kind of non-habit very early on of like, okay, this doesn't exist in my sphere, so I'm going to focus on other things.
Yeah.
And then maybe we don't come back to it we're in our 30s and 40s now,
Yeah.
and we set habits in the beginning that we don't focus as much on our sphere, and we stick with that for a long time. We'll get 10, 15, 20 years in this business, and we're still one night stands sometimes.
Yep.
And it's like, if we just our past clients or people who ran like the sphere that we organically built up over our lifetime, we had a little bit of focus on that. It snowballs, right? I was having a conversation earlier today with an agent of ours, and I said, look around this room right now. I said, how easy would your life be, your business be, if everybody in this room knew you and liked you? Would you get a lot of referrals, right? And of course, the answer was yes. And I was like, well, you're not going to get there, but wouldn't your life get easier the closer you got? Right. So if we had the idea of continuing to build our sphere the way that we talk to expireds, for example, it wouldn't be perfect, but we get a little bit closer every single day.
Let me, and on top of that, why do we not reach out to our sphere?
I don't know what it is.
Well, we don't want to be salesy.
Yeah.
Right. But we don't want to be salesy. We don't be like, we don't want to be that person who we've all been hit up by. And we're like, hey, Brian, are you exploring and open-minded about other business opportunities to make extra side money? Right.
I would love to sell Young Life.
Yes. Yes. Right.
Young Living, whatever
And
it is.
yeah, Young Life Living or what? Yeah. And so we don't want to be salesy to them, but we will call expires, cancel for sale by owners and open houses and sell the shit out of ourselves to people we don't know.
Yeah.
But we won't do it to people that know, like, trust, and love us. And it's not really selling. It's just showing the value. If they're not using you, are they saying they're not using you because they don't see the value and expertise?
The funny thing about that is I never had fear about reaching out to my database until people from my database started not using me. Right. Like it's one of those things like you don't know falling down hurts until you fall down.
Yep.
And like that, like early in my career, I would reach back out to my past clients, like probably to the point where they were like, this is our fucking realtor. Why does he keep calling us? Right. And now it's like people who are like, hey, we really like you. I'm like, all right, cool, man. And it's like, and every time I go do the cull of people who didn't use me the second time, I'm always like, damn it. Like, what were you doing there? There was nothing wrong with that relationship. And I don't know what that means. And maybe that's just something silly, but like it seemed way easier before I realized that maybe everybody doesn't want to use you a second time.
That's true.
By some sad rejection.
Well, and it could be you just never know the reason, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they just forget your name because you didn't reach out.
Sure.
Right. We remember theirs because we made money.
Yeah.
Right. And that's our job to hopefully remember. But at the same time, it's like half the time there, and I can't remember the stats now because and we've heard it so many times, but the NAR survey,
it's definitely over 70%.
said that they had a great experience
that
that would use their agent again, but only like 12 or less percent actually end up using the same agent to buy or sell.
So I think that one of the things that we run into there is we talk a lot about scripting. So like prospecting, expired scripts, even Thera or somebody, I think it was Corey put in there, right? The script is for the client, not for you, right? We talk a lot about conversion and scripts when it comes to people we don't already know. And then somehow that mindset bleeds into people that we do know. One of the reasons we don't call our sphere is because we think we need a script around our sphere. We do this like in Keller Williams Bold.
Hey, what do I say to my friends?
Hey, this is a sales call. Do you have time to talk to me? Right? Like, what if we got the mindset if we were just going to be open and honest with our sphere all the time, completely drop the script? The way that I have encouraged our agents and I do myself in my sphere is just say, hey, let's say it's February. Jeff, all my people in my sphere are named Jeff. You know this, right? Just giving you a shout. Hope everything is well. I need to sell 50 homes and help 50 families this year. And I depend on people like you because you're a badass. You're my fucking friend, Jeff. And I need to make sure that you refer me 1 or 2 deals this year, Jeff. And if there's anything that I can do for you, Jeff, give me a shout. When are we going to lunch? That's not exactly how I talk, but it's way closer.
Probably real close.
It's pretty close, right? That's not a script. And you know how my people, my friends will react to that? Very genuinely. We do this thing where we do this training. We train ourselves in this industry how to talk to our spheres. You actually don't need training to talk to your sphere.
Yep.
Just be super and open and honest with them, because anybody who's an entrepreneur in my sphere, I want to help all the time grow their business as well.
Yep.
I actually think training people to talk to their spheres is a huge detriment to them actually generating sphere business.
Yeah.
I think.
I agree. Well, it sets parameters up, right?
Exactly.
It's like, well, how am I going to call my mom and ask her for business? I'm like, what? Like we've heard.
I hope you're on good terms with your mom.
We've heard
let's figure that out.
We've heard people say that, like you're calling family, and you don't know what to say. Like it's absolutely insane. You can't ask family like, hey, could you support my business? Like this is how I make a living.
I think part of this too is people have tricked themselves into thinking their sphere is bigger than it is. And this is just like a human condition. Your circle of people who give a shit about your success is super small. So why not look at that list of people, past clients and potential clients, or people that are in your world but haven't become clients yet, but you knew them from another job type of people? Why can't you just talk to them like you're trying to help them from a monetary and business standpoint too, right? Like we just label stuff our sphere, I think, to avoid calling it on a Tuesday, and then therefore we can put it onto a monthly drip instead of a weekly drip, when most people probably, in order to be in your database, need to be touched a lot more than you would touch your sphere.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's part of it too.
Yeah. One thing we left out in here is like, because we put lead generation like platforms and or digital marketing, so paid for ads and stuff like that. But I would even take it a step further to really hit that, is like making it more proactive. Those are really reactive type of lead generation strategies, is getting back out there face-to-face open houses.
Yeah.
Right. We're I was on a webinar call the other day through our platform that we're a part of, and there was 2 people that shared their story. They've been in the business since the 80s. And these people individually sell 150 plus houses, both of them each over 150 houses a year since the 80s. And really all it is number one, they're one of the guys is like, all I do every day, I just need to make 20 contacts. I just need to talk to 20 people every day. He's been doing that since 88. Jeez. And so last year he did sold 144 houses. So 144 houses last year. And the other guy's just like, doing the basics. It's like, it's sticking to it where we're not relying. He's using technology for AI, for like enhancement, and not using technology for replacement.
Yeah, exactly. Or
Right?
like leverage that keeps you from doing the work.
Yes. And so we want to look at how can technology replace what we're doing, but we still want to make the full money without doing the work. When in reality, we've just got to do the hard work, do the open houses, put the signs out
It's
there.
Like,
And
by the way, if you could replace the work,
you wouldn't make the
you
money.
You wouldn't need you.
Yeah. And, Ben Kenny shared this the other day, and he's like, Ben Kenny, big real estate guy, massive. You know who
big
he is?
nerd too.
Big
This is
nerd.
probably where you're going with this,
big nerd. But not really, because
okay.
what he did say, he's like, I'm going to bring up the 49% of agents last year sold 0-1 house. I'm going to wear that into you on this episode. He's like, I went to 10 open houses in the last like 10 days.
Okay.
10. And he's like, first off, there's one guy that was amazing at it. He's like, he had that velvet rope at the front door. Think of like going to a club and that's the VIP line. And he's standing there. He's standing there with his iPad and he's like, taking everyone's information. He's like, I have to have this in order for you to come in and preview this and see this house. I have to have all your information. He's like, that was great. And Ben sharing that he's a really serious buyer and went to 10 of them, right? Shared it. And he's like, Ben has a lot of money, by the way. Ben could probably buy all those 10 houses and still buy 10 more.
It'd be fine.
And he's like, how many people followed up with him? One.
Just the velvet rope guy.
I don't know if it was him or not. He didn't actually share that, and I did think that at the
Probably
end.
was him.
But he's like, guys, as real estate professionals, that's our competition out there.
Bad. It's the bar is so low.
If Velvet Rope Guy didn't follow up, his bit's actually the worst of all the bits.
I know.
Yeah.
If you're Velvet Rope Guy and you do all of that, get the information and press Ben Kinney, and then you don't follow, you're not the follow-up guy.
Yeah.
You just wasted all your time.
This is
Just be the dude who doesn't even put signs out.
I mean, 100%. And to even put more of a microscope on this entire like topic is like, we've spent, how many years have we spent in our big Facebook groups and stuff online around like, stop supporting Zillow. They're trying to take over our industry and stuff, right? Like all, the vibe I'm talking about, right? But it's the same people like, what could I get AI to do in my business so I don't have to work anymore? Like, you understand the paradox there, right?
Yeah.
That's the same agent that does the open house and doesn't follow up.
Yeah.
And
And that's where I said the other day, I said, guys, like, number one, everyone's worried about AI replacement. And I said, it's not happening in this sector of our real estate business. I said,
and by the way, if it was, you're not stopping it. So
yeah,
one way or another, it's not a problem.
I said, let's look at anything that we get involved in as AI enhancement, not AI replacement, right? Just like I said with technology. And so, step 4 out of this though, is we wrote down here, and it's really cliche, but it says focus on high value clients.
Suit up.
Right? So focus on high value clients. And look, this could be number one, something that as investors we target market, and we do a target market analysis on who's likely to sell or who's more motivated to sell. And so you can do the same as a real estate professional. So you want to identify high value client segments based on demographics, maybe buying behaviors, market demand, and then prioritize clients who are more motivated or financially qualified and are ready to make quick decisions. So that could be broken down into, let's say that you want to go down a niche. You've got Nicole Espinoza, friend of the show, the short sale queen, right? That is a niche that she has been, mastering for as long as I remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And even in the good times, there were still short sales.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like the nichiest of niches.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you could go down, and I know people that have made millions of dollars with selling probate houses, divorce houses, right?
You know what those all are though? And I think this is where it's like developing your niche. Like, urgency is the niche, by the way, right? Like, that's really what, because you talk about one of the things I have done in my career that's wasted more time than anything is not being able to identify this high value client that we're talking about, right? Like, has nothing to do with their sales price. I would honestly take a lower sales price of somebody who's serious about buying or selling over somebody who has a higher sales price that wants to overprice and is kind of motivated to sell, right? Like, I would take that all day long. Not because of the dollar amount, but because of the fucking hassle, and right? Like, that is the worst, to work with an unmotivated, uninterested client who doesn't care about their largest asset, right? And so when you hear high value clients, it has nothing to do with the commission check attached to it. It has to do with the time efficiency.
I'm glad you brought that up. That and you clarified that it's not about the dollar amount, right? We're not talking about just luxury clientele, which could be your target anyway, right? That could be like, hey, maybe you love going to a country club and you're a network and a social butterfly, and that is your circle of influence is maybe you like to go to charity events, and that you really work that at a high level, and that your average client is buying or selling to $2 million or plus. That's okay, right? And but it's more about identifying the most likely to buy or sell.
Yeah, I interpret high value as the place where you're going to bring the highest level of value.
That's
right.
good.
Like if that's investors, first time home buyers, luxury, whatever. It's like where your highest value that you're bringing is.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So that could be anything, but
when that goes into the next part is developing investor relationships, right?
Exactly.
And we put in here, you want to cultivate relationships with real estate investors that are obviously seeking profitable investment opportunities. Because how many times have you run across, and I was going to do a video on this, because how many times have you run across, and real estate agents are the worst wealth builders and worth investors out there.
Yep.
They're like, I got into this business because I want to be an investor. Well, how many do you own? I don't even own anything.
It's like less than 1%.
How many of you sold? I've sold several houses. And how many of you sold to investors? Oh, several, but you didn't buy it yourself. Right. And, the number one thing when Brett Tanner talks about this, right? So, Brett Tanner, he runs a group called Be Wealthy. And he says, as real estate agents, we're the first line of gathering information. And, if you really dig deep on developing your investor relationship in your list, you should be the number one person on there, right? When you're running a listing appointment and talking to a potential homeowner, you should have your check down list. And the check down list should be, hey, can I buy this house for myself? And if I do, what can I do with it? Is it something that I can wholesale? Is it something that I can flip? Can I keep this in my rental portfolio? And if obviously that doesn't work from a pricing standard, and a profit, or maybe you're not liquid and don't have enough funds just yet, you can wholesale it. But if you can't buy it right, then you go down to, can I help broker this out and then earn the commission? But you should have your check down list, and you should be the number one investor on that damn list.
100%. If you were starting with no job and your mindset was like, I want to get as close to the real estate industry as possible so I can learn everything about it so I can buy real estate, the job you would pick would probably be real estate agent.
Yes.
But then we get into the real estate business and we don't invest. It's like the craziest thing. I agree 100%.
Yeah. And then last on this, and the focus on high value clients, is first time home buyer programs, right? And I believe the stat last year, and it's picking back up, is now, and I used to know this off the top of my head. I need to go back and do this, deep dive on the numbers again. But it was like 35% of all buyers were first time home buyers.
Last year?
Maybe not last year, but I remember that's
the 35, pretty historically pretty average.
Yes, right. Last year may have been a little bit lower just because of interest rates and pricing. But you know who did this really well, because developed specialized programs and resources for first time homebuyers, what we put out there, and make educational seminars, and so they understand the financing, how to buy the step by step. Your brother Danny did this at a high level, right? I remember watching them on social media, and everything was talking about first time homebuyers. And he had I used to have a fake email that I'd sign up and see all his emails that he was doing, and it was amazing.
Yeah,
right. Who wouldn't want to work with him as a first-time home buyer, because he broke the process down really well, and he was utilizing video in it at a high level. And now you don't see that as much anymore. Now it's just more highlighting sexy houses. And scrolling through and seeing on TikTok, you see the photo of the house and then just some fancy trendy music, and then you just keep scrolling over just to see the pictures.
I think there's a big niche, though. It's a big opportunity. I think that so much of content has gotten towards the showy, like, look at me branding aspect of it. There's less education. I honestly think the first time homebuyer education niche is like hugely available right now.
I like that. And there's some other niches that fall into this too. VA loans are another one that's incredibly underserved. 100%. Any type of hero loans, like there's so many things for teachers, nurses, like any of those types of, we call it first time homebuyer, but they fall into so many categories. That there's so much opportunity there as a real estate agent. And if you're in a place, I'll tell you the other one, new construction. If you're in a place, especially in DFW, there's so many incentives for your buyers and benefits for you as an agent, depending on the builder itself. But new construction falls into that too, because if you're doing open houses, I actually talked to somebody about this the other day. There's so much new construction in an area called Princeton, Texas, in our nice, new construction that fits a whole lot of people's needs from a price point. It's fairly centrally located to where the Metroplex is growing, right? And they have stuff on the ground that needs to be sold. You have people looking to be in McKinney, right? Allen, McKinney, which are good school districts that may not be able to get in there, that Princeton is a great option for them. I've thought about holding exclusively houses open home in McKinney in order to build a buyer's database that might be interested in new construction in Princeton.
Yep.
Right? Like there's so many ways to work that from an education standpoint that you're helping your clients and helping yourself.
Really good idea.
Yeah. All right. Step 5 out of this, right? We told you it was 5 steps. So the last part is provide exceptional and amazing service and follow-up, right? Because you want that repeat.
This is how the database
You
shows
want
up.
that referral business. We don't want to be a one-night stand agent, which I was in the very, very beginning.
And I became.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing, dude.
Yeah, you went to
when we started this show, I was like the care and follow-up king, and I moved
and you just hit it and quit it
into the exact opposite thing. And I will tell you, it's not where you want your business to be,
right?
folks.
We all did a little bit, though.
Yeah. It happens. And I think COVID has COVID didn't help either, right? Because you had to just keep going, and your service, like the service kind of dropped during COVID because you had so many clients, you had to rush so fast. And it felt like you were making them rush decisions, and they weren't feeling like they were winning.
I hate that market so much.
Yeah, it
I hated it.
Yeah, it was awful.
God, I'm glad it's gone.
And that's why we put here client-centric approach, right? In the real estate brokerage where we always hear we're the most agent-centric brokerage, but as a real estate professional, you need to have a client-centric approach to this and adopt that client-centric mindset, focus on delivering amazing service and value, which, by the way, guys, that shouldn't be your USP, your unique selling proposition.
Automatic.
Everyone expects great service and value, right?
Quality service, customer service, and exceptional quality service.
HomerDFW.com. Dana Wynn. There's a shirt out there. But you want to listen, very attentively to your clients' needs, their preferences and concerns, and tailor your services accordingly. And I know I have picked up so many clients where I was the second one in line because their agent took them out to houses that weren't aligned with what the client was saying to them and the feedback they were giving to them. And they said they didn't felt like their needs were being met because they weren't felt like they were being listened to. And dude, that's really easy. I don't know why we have this problem.
I mean, that's really easy. Honestly, all of step 5 should be maybe not easy, but automatic, right? Client-centric approach, communication and follow-up, which is part of the client-centric approach, right? Give your clients a great experience. You know what I mean? Like,
if you're an agent who's doing a deal a month and you can't communicate, like, figure it out. If you're an agent who's doing 3 deals a month and your communicating starts to fall off, you need to look into leverage.
Exactly.
Right?
And then after the transaction ends, the last one's post-transaction engagement, right? And this is just the ongoing communication with people in your world from the time they sign with you for the rest of your relationship with them, which should be your entire career and beyond, right? And we've all been guilty of this. Our past clients are our best source of business, and we tend to let that fall off. And if you think about any other business, I always use the movie business as the best example. Like, the best people to refer people to your movie, other people are like, yeah, that was a good movie, you should go see that.
Yeah.
Right. There's always like, no, I haven't seen that movie at all. I have no idea what it's about, but you should go check it out.
The thing where people get mentally jammed up, at least I will say this, is in the post-closing kind of follow-up.
Yeah.
When you miss those first a couple of initial points, that first month, that first 3-month check-in, it's almost like if I call now, I'm kind of a psychopath. Right? Like, I didn't call you the day after closing. I didn't call you when you moved in. I didn't call you a month afterwards. I didn't call to make sure everything went smoothly. But now I'm going to call you at 6 months in a year. No, you're not. Part of this post-closing follow-up does entail you being the person who's kind of there the whole post-closing.
Like, build
not just like reminding them of your Facebook post you made about their closing.
I could not agree more. Some of the most important touch points you'll ever have are the day of closing and the couple of weeks afterwards. Like, build that foundation. Otherwise, you're right. You will run into that awkward situation where you're like, I haven't talked to those people since for like a year, and I left closing early.
Yeah.
You know what really changed from being that one-night stand agent to really, I made a goal to get repeat and referral business. Like, that was my 2014 goal.
Was the fact that you're Nick and you just decided to do it and it happened?
Like, I put it, they said if you write your goals down and you just look at it every day, it will happen.
You mean that doesn't work?
Yeah.
My business planning every year has been a lie.
But number one thing that I started doing was I actually went to closing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's dessert, bro. If you've been in the restaurant industry and you think the end of the meal doesn't matter, I'll prove it to you. It matters. When you're done with your food, how long are you willing to wait for your check?
Not long.
The end of the meal matters.
Yep.
Closing is dessert.
Yep.
Go to your freaking closings. Pay attention. Get off your damn phone and be there.
Yep.
100%.
And I will say, like, the photos still, rather, even though we're doing it for us, most clients like it.
Send it to them.
Right.
You want to do a photo? Take a picture of them signing the paper on the most expensive thing they've ever owned.
Yes.
Right. Take a video of them for that. Focus on them. And then when you get to stand up with them, take a picture of just them with the sign or no sign at all. And then you sneak in for one picture and ask them if it's cool if you use that for social media and watch how that changes, how easy that stuff is.
And something, I was on a lending AI call earlier this week, and something that they were talking about on this lending platform is that what they do, you're done with the step 5, you just threw the paper. What they do is during the process, they ask for referrals.
Yeah.
Right. They ask 5 times or something like that for
I've been
referrals.
bad at this forever.
And, what we can do, though, is they weren't asking. The system, the AI system, just in technology was asking, right? And we talk about communication and follow-up and post transaction engagement and how hard it is if you miss the first 2 calls to actually make the call. But how much easier, even if you didn't make the first 2 calls, how much easier is to make that first call after after you missed
anything
it twice,
had happened?
If you had a 7 or 10 day, a 30-day just text or email that goes out, right? Email that goes out, just checking in at least that way. And one of the things it talks about is understanding and sending out surveys to your clients quarterly, just to check in. Hey, I'm just checking in, doing a quick survey, how you feel about the market, what you're, et cetera. And it's check-ins. And there's a reason why you can call. Hey, you can go back to your CRM system, your technology piece of it, whether it's AI or not. And I agree, Benjamin. I am so sick and tired of hearing about AI classes all day long.
Well, honestly, I actually don't really attend them anymore. What I do is I've found trusted people. I asked Jesse today the way he framed up a prompt on Chat Sonic in order to get a YouTube description, right? Like, it's like I go to people I trust about how they're using AI. I'm not going to go to some basic 101 class.
Because look, anybody that's saying AI is running their business, that's bullshit.
I only trust AI classes that are taught by AI.
Yes. Yes. We can actually make that happen. Probably. Yeah. There's another business in that. But anybody that's talking about AI really running their shit, what they don't understand is, like, when you hear about it, when people hear that, they think done for you, and it's running and it's up and running. AI is not all fully incorporated into any one system yet. So now you have a system, by the way, that you haven't read the instruction manual. You're using probably at 5% efficiency. And now you're going to go try to get AI to then work within your business. Then you're not even using your technology piece, but you're going to go use this over here because it's going to make you more enhanced and more efficient. You're going to learn that half-assed anyway, so you're not even going to really do it. What it's going to do is you're going to just make it for social media posts and listing descriptions. And that saves 30 minutes of your time a week.
Yep.
Right? Like,
assuming you're taking a bunch of listings.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yes. Right? So in all reality, all we need to do is learn our systems a little bit more efficiently and put post-engagement transaction engagement touches in there, so that even if you didn't make the darn calls, you've got something behind you cleaning up your mess.
One of the things that Brian and I used to say when we taught these classes, as far as your database, they should not be in there if they don't have a customized to-do or some sort of follow-up plan. There's zero reason for someone with a name and a phone number, an email address, and a home address to be in your database or any variation of that. If you don't have a plan for your next communicate, you can't give me a reason why anybody would be in your real estate database if you don't know when you're going to contact them next. If you don't have a plan of attack, figure one out or delete them, clear up the mind space, and focus on who's supposed to be in there. I, at one point, had a database of almost 4,000 people. That database was bullshit. It got taken down to 380 people, and I closed more deals out of it at 380 people than I ever did at 4,000.
And guess what? It's more from your brain to be able to comprehend that, it's more manageable,
It's
right?
way more manageable.
It's like walking in, and I used this analogy the other day. It's like if I hired you, Brian, to walk into a hoarder's house to clean it up, and you weren't expecting it to be a hoarder's house, I'm like, it's just cluttered,
A little messy.
it's a little messy. I want you to come in and organize this, and you walk in, and it's jam packed full of shit, floor to ceiling, wall to wall, and there's just little tiny narrow patches to get through. And you're looking at this and you don't even know where to start to make a dent in this, right? That's most people's database where they think more leads, the better.
Yep.
But what it ends up happening, it gives them more of a paralysis. They don't know who to call, what to say, who to attack first. There's no structure to it.
Yep.
Versus if you have 20 people in there, you only know you got 20 people to hit up.
Pretty straightforward.
Yes. Yeah. There's not much to think about in there. You need to figure out how to milk those 20 people to get some type of closing out of this.
If you have paralysis in your database, I'm telling you, the best thing you can do is wipe out half of it. I mean, I will tell you right now, you want to know the fastest way to do this, and Brian and Nick will freak out about this. But if you are an individual agent, take everybody who you only have an email address for and get them out of your face. You don't have the ability to email market only to someone if it is an individual agent. You don't. You're not paying for the systems to email market only. You need more touch points.
Brian and I talked about this yesterday. It's funny.
It's not. No, we did.
I think as an individual agent, you can't do it.
This is actually not a bad idea. And I'm just thinking about this on the fly. This might not be a bad idea. Here's what I would challenge you to do. Okay, so every one of us, like our modern CRMs, we can all export everything. So why don't we do this? Why don't you export your entire database? Okay, then erase it from the actual system, so you have the spreadsheet, so you can re-import it, right? And then you only put back the people that you can remember, right? And you see how many that is. And then maybe you go to the spreadsheet.
I've always said, if you have accurate phone number, email, and home address, they go in no matter how you know them, no matter what. You've got the holy trinity of contact info. You can do everything. If they're email only, they are completely out of sight, out of mind. They're going to go somewhere else. Maybe I join a team. Maybe I figure something out down the road to do with them. If I have a phone number for them, they go in as well.
Like, and you can use tools, right? Like your phone, you could see what contacts in your phone. Like the reason that I'm thinking of this, so this is like an old writing exercise I used to do, right? Like the way to make sure that your pros, I was a creative writing major, so write stories, right? How to like shorten and still get to the point, which I still obviously haven't learned.
Well, it wasn't verbal. You're not writing this.
Yeah, that's true.
You weren't a talking
My
major.
writing is much
You
more
were a
succinct,
writing major.
right? Would be to write the entire prose, write the whole story, save it somewhere, and then erase it off of your sheet, your canvas, and then try to rewrite it from memory, right? And then your brain will automatically remember the most important parts. What you'll find is like your second draft is normally so much better because you're just thinking about the most succinct points that you can make. And you realize like the way you piece it together is so much more seamless because you're not over describing, you're not doing a lot of those things. You can almost do the same thing with your database, right? Like export it, leave it somewhere so you don't lose everything. But like start to mentally run through this exercise one lap at a time of like putting people back that you actually have some sort of connection with, right? First, it's your spear and who you remember. Then it's like you can find out, you can get a memory jogger, but not look at the spreadsheet and go, is my mechanic on there? Is my insurance guy on there? Right? Like find all those people and then be like, all right, between those two exercises, those two laps, I have like 300 people now.
Yeah.
And then like the other 3,000 probably don't even matter that
Just
much.
delete it.
Definitely.
Yeah. You know, you could do that.
You know what's gotten better and more seamless is this show after 215 episodes.
Finally coming together.
And do I need to read that 5-star review again?
No.
No. Oh.
No. I do have a question though, because we alluded to this earlier, and I want to get the people's thoughts on this. I got a compliment ? The other day. So somebody in the office told me I looked like I was 28, but I drank
A lot.
I gotta ask.
I'm gonna be
I gotta ask
45 in a
here
few days.
Who made this comment? So when I see this person next,
I don't want to do her like that.
Yeah, no,
right?
no,
I will tell you off air.
We know it's a her.
So here's the thing. I'm 45 in 5 days. Is being told you're 28 and look like you drink a lot really just like calling somebody old face, which I've got. I got old face. I got bags under my eyes. I'm cool with that. But a compliment to the rest of the package, or is it an insult? Because at first I was like, oh, that's no big deal. Then I thought about it and I was like, wait, that should What do I think about that? And then
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, I think it's a good thing. You told me I look 17 years younger than I look, so I want the people to.
But not your
to tell
face.
me.
Well,
But
maybe
not
you
your
have,
face.
Was I insulted or
and
high
maybe you
five?
have a youthful energy to you.
Look,
Yeah.
I mean that, like, I mean, immaturity, absolutely.
We look again. We call it youthful energy. Youthful energy.
Everybody who watches the show's been here for a minute.
Yes.
They understand.
I don't know if it's saying
Yeah.
the rest of you looks young or your face looks older. than
Either
it's
way,
supposed to
I'm
look. I
cool
don't
with
know what
it.
that means.
I'm cool with it, so I'm fine. But I'm just curious which direction you
look
guys would
older
take
than you're
that.
supposed to be.
Either way, I think I'm fine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Post in the Facebook group
Yeah.
what you think on that topic, because that is very.
She better not be.
interesting as
So, dude, relax, Theron. Why are you throwing
Yeah.
missiles in my world, you
Yeah.
dick?
Yeah. Jesse, just for future, as whenever we get the merchandise store up, I do want to go back up to the top. I think we make a quote that you look, you're 45, but you look like a 28-year-old that drinks a lot.
Yeah. That's
But
good.
Corey Mills had it up there as the sourdough. He's like, because you always stay loafed up.
Oh yeah.
I think you need to just say, you need to have a shirt that says "I stay loafed."
Bro, I will do that. And anything else Corey Mills wants me to put on a shirt, I will, because consistently for years, I had a
Yeah.
memory come across where he photoshopped a photo of me one time with some pretty funny backgrounds that came up the other day. So any shirt of any Meals Brothers, I will wear.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
guys are the most understated humor. It's unbelievable.
Oh, look who's watching.
Uh-oh.
Mama Bear's watching.
Yeah.
I'm about to be home. I'm sorry.
All right, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the 5 steps and you become a millionaire real estate agent just by following those
Do it.
5 steps. Or at least, here's the thing: if you're not going to make $1 million, don't be part of that 49% that didn't sell shit.
Yeah. 'Cause
Right.
then you're a thousandaire.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
not
Yeah.
the
Then you're
place
out
you
of
need to
business.
be,
Then
yeah.
you're quickly out of business. If you can do us a favor, go support our sponsors. You already know who they are. Mortgage Mike, mmgloans.com. Get that Mortgage Mike stamp of approval. Theron Smith, who's over there, he'll send you photos. Just ask him, get on there, comment, say, Theron, send me a selfie. He will do it. Armadillo.1/tour, TORE, gives that hard shell protection on any house out there. Gets it really hard. And then you got Dana Wynn, homeward at DFW.com, the best Dallas Fort Worth residential property management company out there. And then Jesse with Tour Studios, who makes us look good every single
Somebody else
week.
coming on board, he says.
Yeah, somebody else is bringing up Tour Studios.
Nice.
And then just go to the Facebook group, the only real estate group worth being a part of. Leave us 5-star review. And then I think that's
I just want everybody to go leave reviews about Nick. Let's just do that. I
Yeah.
challenge everybody to leave a 5-star review about how awesome Nick is on the show.
yeah.
I want to see how many we can get.
If there's
it.
no more, then I'm going to be
If
really
you-
disappointed.
If you can get AI to write it, that's even better.
Even better.
That had to be
I
an
know.
AI response. It had
No,
to
it was
be.
too juicy. That was all you, baby.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Christina, we made it in an hour. Bye.
Hey, thank you for watching. We truly appreciate it. Checking out another episode of the only real estate podcast worth listening to. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead, hit that share button, hit that like button, and hit the subscribe button. Right? We're dropping more stuff on YouTube constantly. If you're on iTunes, leave us a review, please. We're really, really focused on building up those reviews so we can get more searchable content on there. And if you're on Facebook, like everyone else is, go over and search the only real estate group worth being a part of. You're going to want to go join that group. I'm telling you right now, there's so much gold in there. So go join, share us on YouTube, and leave us that iTunes review, please. Go do it right now. We'll see you on the next show.